Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Amar bin Salim from the Office of Advancement, and we are live from LUMS. It is another exciting opportunity for me to welcome you to this Knowledge Week for Suleman Dawood School of Business, which basically is a webcast series for some of the graduate programs that we offer through Suleman Dawood School of Business at LUMS. So before we move on to the program, I'd like to acquaint you with the schedule for the rest of the week. So today our program is for MS Financial Management and MS Accounting and Analytics. Tomorrow it is going to be for MS Supply Chain and Retail Management. On Wednesday, which is the 6th of January 2021, we're going to be covering MS Healthcare Management and Innovation. And Thursday will be our day for Executive MBA, and we'll wrap up this week with our webcast for MBA, Master of Business Administration. And all of these programs are offered through SDSB. Now, Suleman Dawood School of Business, or as we like to call it, SDSB, is the most eminent business school in the country, and it has a remarkable reputation for producing industry leaders, highly effective managers, and innovators. Also, SDSB is the first, and it is also the only business school in Pakistan to have secured the prestigious AACSB accreditation. And that is something that puts us amongst the top 5% of the world's business schools. Now, today we'll be discussing the MS Financial Management, MS Accounting and Analytics programs. We'll be talking about their structures, their admission criteria. We'll take into account the important dates that you must remember. And we'll also be taking in your questions, and we'll try and have them answered by our panelists. So I'm truly honored and extremely glad to be in the presence of Drs. Al-Noor Bhimani, On Rizvi, Umair Haroon, and Osama Yaqub. Dr. Al-Noor is a professor of management accounting, and he is also the dean of the School of Business at LUMS. Dr. On is an associate professor of finance, and he's also the associate dean for academics at SDSB. Dr. Umair Haroon is an assistant professor at SDSB, and he is also the program director for MS Accounting and Analytics at LUMS. And Dr. Osama is an assistant professor at SDSB, and he teaches courses related to data sciences, business intelligence, and marketing. So, gentlemen, my wholehearted gratitude to you for taking time out and being here with us for the benefit of our applicants. And Dr. Bhimani, I believe this will be the only webcast that you will be joining us in, and I'm going to make sure that I capitalize as much as I possibly can on this opportunity, and would request you to introduce the School of Business to our audience.
Thank you very much, and salam alaikum, everyone. Real pleasure to address you on this forum. So I'll say a few words about the business school and also about the tradition of the business school, as well as why it is that you're starting to see SDSB implement new programs that you may be interested in. And of course, as was mentioned today, we're sort of focusing on financial management and accounting and analytics, but there are other programs as well. So I'll give a broad introduction, but then maybe speak specifically to those as questions arise. So the business school, as you probably know, was founded just over 3 decades ago. At the time, the leading business schools globally were Harvard, and there was a kind of a case study based approach that was used there. There were other schools which were more, in a sense, analytical and more traditional in terms of their instructional techniques. SDSB was premised on the idea of a case-based school. And so we implemented essentially the Harvard model at SDSB. We have the ongoing MBA program and the executive MBA program, which are largely founded and well-established programs that founded on the case-based approach. Over the past 30 plus years, then the environment has changed, Pakistan has changed, industries have changed, technologies have changed, and instructional techniques have also altered. And so SDSB is keeping track of those changes, and we're evolving. And you'll find that these new programs are, in a sense, an echo of that sort of evolution that is taking place. So let me briefly speak about the business school in relation to those three programs. As was mentioned, the business school is now AACSB accredited, and what this means is, of course, as was suggested, it's a very small number of schools that manage to get the accreditation. But over and beyond this, I think that from the candidate's perspective, it means that you have the assurance of an education that is of a global standard, but also internal processes that meets the needs of candidates and students. And that is very, very important for any student to consider. But aside from this, of course, we've got a number of other accolades and other achievements. It is pretty much well established both within Pakistan and outside that SDSB is a top business school in the country. And what makes a top business school are a number of different characteristics. For one, the faculty is absolutely crucial, but also the students are as crucial. You'll find that in some programs, I have not seen the number of applicants given the number of places that we have. Competition is absolutely intense for very many of our programs. And what this means is that we end up having pretty much the best students we can possibly have. And business school education is about the interaction and the experience that you obtain by interfacing with other students as well. So faculty and students are what makes the program. Of course, we have an administrative staff structure, which is outstanding. And we also have the resources to allow us to explore and innovate and experiment with new techniques. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the new programs. We started 3 new MS programs this year, one in business and public management and policy. That program is the outcome of looking at certain sectors in Pakistani society and asking ourselves, what is it that is lacking there that we can basically galvanize in order to get the industry to better evolve. So that's one industry, and you may sort of suggest that it has to do with regulators, it has to do with administrators, it has to do with government. We also have another program, which is the Technology Management and Entrepreneurship, MS, and that program looks at the impact of digitization on organizations, and it looks to empowering individuals to essentially become more entrepreneurial in their activities and to, in a sense, also give rise to new economic domains of activity within Pakistan. And so the program has just started, and it is already incredibly successful. We have yet another program, and you can probably, in the present global environment, get a sense of what this might be. And this has to do with healthcare management and innovation. That program, equally successful. It meets very specific challenges that Pakistan is facing, but it also looks at some of the avant-garde and innovative advances in that field, and so students get exposed to those. The 3 MS programs that have just started this year pretty much have the same structure. So we have 2 semesters of courses, and then we have a semester of essentially experiential learning, where students engage in a project and they live on site some of the things that have been exposed in the classroom in the prior semesters. Now, we're launching new MS programs, and so 2 of these are financial management and accounting and analytics. There is a third one, which we deal with sort of at a different platform, which is supply chain and retail management. Now, what I'd like to just mention in relation to financial management and accounting and analytics, although some questions I think will unravel this much more, and this is that both of these industry sectors are very, very fast evolving. In part, one might say that it has to do with the technology that is coming to surface in very many industries and organizations, to do with accounting, to do with finance, to do with financial institutions and their workings. But I think, you know, we can talk a lot about the impact of, say, blockchain, or we can talk about robotic process analysis, we can talk about cloud technologies and artificial intelligence, and all of those are changing the way in which we engage in finance and accounting. But I think of primary importance is that those new technologies give rise to new forms of data, and that data feeds into decision makers' assessment of different organizational environments in terms of finance and accounting. And that is the core of these new programs, to basically unravel the changing nature of data and what it means for decision makers. So this is what you can expect to be exposed in both programs. They, of course, then delineate in different ways in terms of what they're trying to achieve. The structure, as you'll see later on as we discuss it, is essentially the same. These are programs where we carry out in the first and second semesters, as it were, the courses, and then we move on to experiential learning. But what needs to be said is that in looking at the different sectors and engaging in focus groups with potential students, we've structured these programs differently. So the financial management program is an on-site, on-campus program, which is full-time, and the accounting and analytics program is structured differently so that individuals in the workforce can actually engage in those programs. So I won't say too much more unless questions surface, but I'm very happy to now pass on to Associate Dean and to the program directors, who will basically tell you a little bit more about those programs, and you can engage in more questions as the discussion develops. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Noor. Thank you for such a detailed introduction. I always try to introduce all the schools at LUMS whenever I'm in a webcast, and most of the webcasts that I have done are for the School of Business, but I can never do justice, especially knowing that the kind of introduction that you have given now. I'm under a lot of pressure now. And thank you for the introduction to the new MS programs. And I should also let our audience know that today we are doing this webcast for MS Financial Management and the MS Accounting and Analytics programs. Tomorrow, we're going to do it for MS Supply Chain and Retail Management. So these are the three main programs that we have introduced this year. Okay, so Dr. On, now I'm going to come to you. बहुत खुशी हो रही है दोबारा से आपको देख के और मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप इंट्रोड्यूस करें एमएस फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट प्रोग्राम को। वैसे तो डॉक्टर पेमानी ने काफी डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन किया है, बट इंडस्ट्री में किस जगह पे एग्जैक्टली इस प्रोग्राम की नीड जो है फुलफिल करेंगे हमारे ग्रेजुएट्स, एक तो काइंडली उसके बारे में, एंड देन फॉलोड बाय द स्ट्रक्चर।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, शुक्रिया अमार। So MS फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट, so आपका जो आखिरी सवाल था वो था कि इंडस्ट्री में कहाँ पे फाइनेंस, हर इंडस्ट्री में, हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में एक क्रिटिकल रोल प्ले करता है। So it's basically everything boils down to money and management of that money. We work, we study, we do business, and it's all about finances. So the financial management का जो master's program है, that's designed to basically a broad spectrum, while it focuses on the fact that directly financial sector related companies, banks, mutual funds, insurance companies, investment banks, brokerage houses, वो सारे एक career prospect हैं। On top of that, आपके उसके अलावा तमाम organizations जो आपकी FMCGs में हो, आपकी रिटेल में हैं, आपके सप्लाई चेन कंपनीज हैं, जो सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, सर्विसेज सेक्टर है, टेलीकॉम है, उन सब में फाइनेंस का एक मेजर रोल है। अब जो एमएस फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट जो डिजाइन किया गया है, और बेसिकली I would say the thought behind MS Financial Management program was to stay current and be at the cutting edge of how finance is evolving as an area of expertise, as well as a field. Technology has come in play, things have changed. It's no longer the financial management or the finance of 2 decades ago. The world has become much more interconnected. Now you'll see companies operating across the borders, which means exposures to different kind of financial issues. So the MS Financial Management ka program hai that tries to engage and give a very current and cutting edge, state of the art understanding of what finance is and where the finance is heading. So basically it's to train people, to train students to take on the next decade of evolution of business and corporate sector in Pakistan. So MS financial management ka role is primarily to support the growth of the country, Pakistan's economic future, by producing financial managers who can not only compete within the domestic market but in the global landscape, and help grow Pakistan within the region and internationally. So that's the idea जो MS Financial Management के लिए था. So now how it's structured in a as a full-time program. It's a one and a half year degree. Uh, so the first semester introduces everyone to the basic management areas. So you can call it more of like a compressed MBA, kind of a mini MBA, where you're exposed to accounting and finance, you're exposed to economics, you're exposed to organization leaderships and marketing. And that's the core that is in the first semester. That's followed by, in the second semester, finance specialization courses. Finance specialization courses जो है financial management के, they're in the areas of corporate finance, in entrepreneurial finance and venture creation. That's an area which is very up and coming in Pakistan with a lot of these startups. Pakistan में मतलब over the last, हम पिछले 2 साल में देखें तो startup culture काफी develop हुआ है. Small startups are coming up. सबसे बड़ा challenge स्टार्टअप्स के लिए होता है कि आपने स्टार्ट तो कर लिया है, अब आपने से अगर स्केल अप करना है तो आप हाउ डू यू गो अबाउट इट. आपको पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे, आपने पैसे कहाँ किस तरह मैनेज करने हैं. आपने हम लोग आजकल सुन रहे होते हैं टीवी पे अखबार में कि जी फलां कंपनी ने $1.2 मिलियन रेस किए, ग्राज से स्टार्ट की उन्होंने अपने, और उन्होंने रेस किया, नाउ दे एक्सपैंडिंग. So all of this is entrepreneurial finance and venture creation. So we actually have one full area, one full course which explores the finance side of startups and entrepreneurship. Again, the idea is that that's what is happening in Pakistan, and that is what will help grow the economy and employment for the next decade or so. इसमें so purely financial markets related courses bhi hain second semester mein. Then summers mein it moves into data analytics, data, basically data analysis, data analytics. और उसके बाद से then जो then the following semester जो है, that is the practical field work, जहाँ पे we expect and we would the students will engage with organizations on projects, basically to apply जो कुछ उन्होंने सीखा होगा साल में, to actually apply it and further refine their skills. So that's the structure of MS Financial Management.
Thank you so much, Dr. On. इतनी डिटेल में आपने हमें explain किया है the structure and the need for this program and its application. And as you've said, कि finance की application is everywhere in the whole wide world, no matter wherever you go. Dr. Umair, it would be great अगर आप हमें MS Accounting and Analytics programs को introduce करें और इसके structure के ऊपर थोड़ा सा हमें explain करें for our audience.
Thank you, Amar. Finance is needed and everywhere, as Honest just said. तो उसकी accounting भी किसी ने करनी, so we need accountants everywhere as well. But as far as the new MS program is concerned, accounting as an academic discipline, MA or MS in accounting, is very rare. Has been very rare in Pakistan. In terms of universities, what we've been seeing is BComs and MComs are being offered, which create the supply for accountants in the industry. In terms of accounting as a profession, professional bodies have been very active, and they have dominated the scene over the years in Pakistan. So it's very rare to see a master's in accounting in Pakistan. But last few years, we've been seeing reports and feedback from industry, from accounting profession, from even regulators, that things are changing. कुछ तो ये भी था कि accountants की ज़रूरत ही नहीं रहेगी future में. But as Al-Noor has very eloquently put, things are evolving and things are changing. The impact of technology and now that a huge amount of data is available, how to use it for making for helping make decisions, that is needed. The accounting bodies in US, UK, Pakistan, हर जगह पे यही बात हो रही है कि we have to adapt. But the professional accounting bodies, especially हमारे developing countries में, they've been slow to adapt to the changing needs of the industry. So this program basically helps polish the skills of people already familiar with accounting and finance, who are either graduates with some background in accounting and finance, or are working as accounting professionals in the industry. So in terms of structure, this is a 1.5-year program. The first module, as we are calling it here, is basically similar to what On has just described for the finance program. So this introduces the basics of management. Plus, it also helps the participants in polishing their management and leadership skills, which these skills which are typically not very well translated to the professional accounting students that we have in Pakistan. But the interesting bit about this program is that this is a weekend program. So it helps people in industry who are working in industry to come and polish their skills and augment their skills, their accounting and finance skills with technology and data analytics skills. So, yeah, so then you have 2 more modules, which are essentially adding on broadly three basic streams of skills, which is analytics, technology, and information systems. So traditionally, accountants have been custodians of data throughout the industrialization and later. But now the role is changing. The role is perhaps help organizations grow through developing data and augmenting the information system within the organization so as the people who can make better decisions day in and day out. So what we are trying to do, so what we are trying to do here is that the participants or the students that we'll have, they'll have skills in terms of one, which Dr. Al-Noor was earlier talking about, new technologies that are emerging. How can we use them, exploit them for our benefit? And then how can we use data through analytics? And then a big problem that evolves with this is the security of the data that we have. How do we ensure the sanctity and completeness of the data? So this is in brief the program, and we'll be exploiting our expertise of people like Osama that we have here, who has very little information about accounting, but he is an expert in data analytics and so forth. So we have people in our computer science department who are helping us. So this is, at the end of the program, you'll have a project to do, which would be an applied project, which is a hands-on application of what we've learned through the program. So this is not only you come in and we do the lectures and then you go out, and this is not what it is. So we'll be deploying a lot of different pedagogical and instructional techniques so that you get the best out of what we have to offer.
Thank you, Dr. Umair. Thank you so much for such a detailed explanation with regards to the structure of the program and the need for the accounting and analytics program. Osama, आपकी तरफ आते हैं. You've been a student of LUMS as well. मेरा सबसे पहला question ये होगा आपसे कि who do you think would be ideal candidates to apply for both these MS Financial Management and MS Accounting Analytics? Plus, we must factor in this fact that MS Accounting and Analytics is a weekends program as well. But before you answer, I'd like to remind our audience once again that this program is being done for you. So if you have any questions with regards to applying to the program, please make sure you're writing your questions in the chat section, in the comment section, from wherever you're watching, and our social media team will pick those questions from there and will bring them to us. Sama.
Thank you, Ammar. I think Drs. Al-Noor, Umair, and On have talked in detail about the structure of the program and how it's laid out. If you talking about who this program will be suitable for, as Umair has already mentioned, that this will be a weekends program, and what that means is that people who are already working can join this program and they can take these classes while they are continuing their jobs, because there's always a huge opportunity cost that's involved with higher education, and that's something that a lot of the universities and business schools around the world are trying to cater to. As far as who would be suitable for this program or what this program encompasses, Al-Noor has already mentioned the fact that the world is changing, and the world is changing rapidly, and technology is playing a huge role in this changing world. There's already businesses depend a lot in areas like data science, machine learning, and big data analytics, which is all part of this data-driven decision making that's now being made in the organizations around the world. So that's something that we consider at SDSB. This is something that is going to play a huge role in businesses and the way decision making is being made. Secondly, specifically when we talk about accounting and finance, and these are the areas where there is a lot of technological innovations are taking place, especially in accounting and finance. We have technologies like blockchain hai, artificial intelligence hai, or aajkal there's this entire DeFi movement now, decentralized finance, which is a huge disruption that's coming over, where you have decentralization, decentralized banks, you have decentralized collaterals, and a lot of these innovations that are happening in finance. As Umair has already mentioned, I'm not an expert in finance. I teach. I have my PhD in information systems and technology. But from a technology perspective, I can see that there are huge disruptions that are coming forward in this area. So these programs are basically going to focus on the changing nature, and also in a sense focus on technology that's being evolved in finance and accounting. So this program, and because it's in business school, it's going to be applied in nature, because these are technologies that are not just theoretical or they are still experimental, but are now being applied in finance and accounting. And as I think Umair also mentioned, the fact that at LUMS we have also this trend that we have a lot of other schools. We have School of Science and Engineering. We have other schools that we collaborate with, and that helps us understand different aspects of each area, because technologies are becoming very interrelated. I teach data science, and one of the debates these days is, okay, what's the definition of data science? Is it a statistician who knows computer science, or is it a computer scientist who knows statistics, or is it someone who knows both and is also a marketing expert? So I think that's something which is happening in all the areas, and that's why you have terminologies like fintech, where you have finance and technology coming together. The idea of the program is to cater to all of these changing world. That's changes that are happening in the world, and then focus on them. Technology being one aspect of that, and that leading to, because all these systems will create data, and hence will push us towards data-driven decision making.
Thank you, Sama. Thank you so much. Dr. Bhimani and our panel as well, we have started getting questions too. Dr. Bhimani, one of the questions that we have got is from Rehan. He says, what is the main teaching methodology that we use here? And he says he knows SDSB focuses on the case study method. What sort of a mix do we look at providing to our students here? So you could talk about that.
Thank you. I think that's a very good question indeed. So as I mentioned, the school was founded on the case methods approach. But on these MS programs, we're actually evolving quite a lot, along with uh, established business schools across the world. Even Harvard and others like Western Virginia, which was primarily case-based, have moved on a little bit. So we're following suit, and in a sense, we're also avant-garde in very many senses. The way that the teaching will take place is, to a degree, there'll be some case studies, but then very much there'll be blended learning. So you may do some of the instructional interaction online. You may come into the classroom finding that it's a flipped lecture approach. You may find that you do the reading and then you come and ask questions in the classroom. There are sort of quite a few, there's a diversity in terms of what the student will get exposed to. There'll be role plays. You'll find that students will interact as groups and then make presentations to the rest of the student body. And then, of course, because we have the experiential learning, so essentially a project that takes place within the organization, you're going to find that you may be making presentations to the actual organizations that you work within, bringing outside what you've been exposed to within LUMS. So in a sense, we have a panoply of approaches. We have plurality in the way in which the material is exposed to you. But absolutely key to this, and I think this is a global movement, we have student participation which far exceeds what we've been used to in the past. So in a sense, to a large degree, and I've dealt with the classroom environments where the students become the teacher and the teacher essentially is a student. So that interaction is absolutely essential. I think you know, philosophically, I think we've moved away from the idea that the teacher knows the material and the student is there to absorb that material. I don't think it works that way anymore. I think there's a strong element now of interaction, and that interaction, if we premise it on an infrastructure that is instructionally endowed and technologically kind of advanced enough, then we get to you know, to the idea that we can have a platform for mutual exchange where the classroom environment captures something that no other environment of instruction can capture. So we're trying to basically tap into all these new approaches and techniques, and the MS programs are where we're doing it the fastest and deepest.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noor. Dr. On अगला क्वेश्चन आपसे करता हूँ. वलीद पूछते हैं, how can we get admission into the MS FM program? What does the panel really look for in a candidate? तो डॉक्टर ऑन जहाँ पे आप ये बात इसका आंसर देंगे, मेरा ये भी क्वेश्चन होगा कि पूरा अगर आप एक दफा एक्सप्लेन कर दें कि एडमिशन क्राइटेरिया है क्या MS FM में एंटर होने के लिए. एंड अक्सर ये क्वेश्चन हमें बाकी वेबकास्ट में भी आता है कि what does the panel really look for? वो कौन सी ऐसी चीज होती है जो फाइनली जो है वो एक कैंडिडेट को सिलेक्ट करवा देती है?
All right. Thank you. So, जो requirements हैं to apply, वो तो बहुत standard है. मतलब 16 years of education as per HEC guidelines and equivalencies, and then मतलब कुछ और documentations चाहिए, आपकी degrees की copies, ID cards की copies. आप admissions के portal पे जाएंगे तो आपको सारी information वहाँ से available है. So basically, it's a mix of evaluation of the documents that you share with us, not the degrees per se, but there is our essays. The application process asks you to give us answers to some of the questions we pose. As simple, some of them are as simple as why MS Finance? Yeah, why are you applying for MS accounting? Yeah, MS Healthcare. जो जिसके लिए भी करे. As simple as that. And then there are a few other questions. So admission decision is a combination of an evaluation of the essays you submit as well as the interviews. So we also do have interview panels. Work experience is not a requirement for the MS Finance program. It always adds up and adds value. That's true. जहां तक सवाल है कि क्या assess किया जा रहा होता है, that's a difficult question to answer, but basically what we are trying to look at, or what the judgment, what we're trying to judge is कि जो candidate apply कर रहा है, can LUMS add value to that candidate during his or her 1.5 year stay, and whether जो हम value add करेंगे, how would that end up benefiting the society at large. So it's not the fact के LUMS को क्या benefit मिलेगा, it's about के एक कोई candidate when he or she enters LUMS, what's the benefit, or what's the value addition that LUMS can, or SDSB in this in the MS, in these MSKs, SDSB can provide to that candidate, and so that in the long run, after the person graduates from SDSB with an MS degree, he or she can end up becoming a valuable member of the society and the country. So so that's the basically the judgment, or that's basically the decision that we are trying to assess.
Certainly. ठीक है, डॉक्टर उमैर आपकी तरफ आते हैं. डॉक्टर उमैर, हमारा क्लास साइज जो है, what are we looking at? And in your opinion, who would an ideal candidate be in this situation for MS Accounting Analytics program? Of course, मतलब it's a weekend program, तो हम definitely executives target कर रहे हैं. But आपके ख्याल में who would still be more ideal to apply to this program?
Right. So I'll answer your second question first and add on to what On was saying earlier. What we are looking for in candidates is, one, what On said, that can we add value to the person, but also can that person add value to the learning of other people in the cohort? Can that person add value to our learning as instructors? So we look at the background, the experience, the diversity of experiences, and what exciting things the person has done. So it's not academic per se, that there is a cutoff and then you make a cutoff and you're admitted. We look at many more things, specifically as Noor was saying earlier, that it's not a typical lecture-based thing. Everyone is trying to add value to the learning of everyone involved in the process. So we look at quite a lot of things in addition to academics, specifically whether the person has something exciting to offer to other participants in the program. What kind of person we are specifically looking at accounting and analytics is somebody with some grounding in accounting and finance earlier. It is a weekend program, but it is a demanding program. So if you're working, you have to have an understanding with your employer that you are going into this, and you would expect quite a few nights that you will be sleepless. So it's not going to be, it's just you come in on a weekend and then you do your lectures and go home. But in between those weekends, there would be quite a bit of work and interaction that is going on. So you should be ready for that. So essentially, the basics is what Dr. On has covered. But for us, we are also looking at, because we are assuming in this program that the person already has some training and experience in accounting and finance.
Okay. Dr. Umair, I must say that you're very bold to have said that there are definitely going to be some sleepless nights.
Sure.
And sure. I'm seeing that Osama wants to add to it, but my next question was also from Osama. Osama, agar aap isse club kar sake, as a student, what does SDSB life really look like? I mean, मैंने सुना है कि काफी ज़्यादा pressure होता है. So is that true? जैसे डॉक्टर उमैर, मतलब वो तो he seems adamant कि मैंने देनी है ना sleepless nights. तो आप बताएं बाकी professors के साथ कैसा होता है?
Well, I was a student at LUMS. I'm an MBA myself from LUMS, and I think he's, right about sleepless nights and the fact that LUMS, there is a lot of academic, there is pressure, and it's purposeful, because एक चीज जो learn करनी होती है, I think something that you should learn in life if one wants a successful career is to work under pressure. So sleepless nights and a lot of the academic pressure, the idea is to train students so that when they go out in real world, they are able to work under pressure and they are able to soak up that pressure, because management especially involves a lot of pressure soaking up and then still delivering under circumstances when you are constrained with time or resources. I just wanted to add to the fact, because I think this is something जो कि काफी students के mind में होता है कि what are they looking for and क्या criteria होता है of taking students in an SDSB. तो उसमें I think एक चीज जो थोड़ी सी important है at LUMS at least, is that it's not just academics. Umair has mentioned that, but I think this should be emphasized. It's not just academics, there are a lot of different variables. Because I think in most of the other institutions in Pakistan, it's a lot about your academic score and that's it. They're cut-offs and there you go. Lekin yahan pe it's not just your academic background, they are also to aapke, degree or aapke purane grades hain, 16 years of education, but then there's also standardized test score. Then there's also reference recommendation letters. Then there are also your essays, how purposeful they are and how clarity they convey in what you want to do in life. Uske alawa, then there's your interview performance. That also matters a lot. Plus, I think jo on ne bhi baat ki thi ke experience, although it's not a requirement, but a lot of the time experience also, gives candidates a bit of an edge ke acha chale iska kuch experience bhi hai. So maybe that compensates अगर वो किसी और एरिया में थोड़ा सा lacking है. So the idea is that it's not just simple cutoff in terms of academics. There are various factors that we look at. We try to look at holistic personality, और उसमें there are a lot of other variables that we're looking at, and don't be just put off simply by the fact if you don't have good academic scores.
Okay, as I always say, for every webcast program that I am in, I always say that LUMS, it considers everything. So we take a very holistic approach when we get your application and we evaluate it. We make sure that we are factoring in everything that you provide to us. So we also encourage you to provide us with everything that can support your application.
This is also important for the campus life. Sorry if I may just add that the LUMS experience is not just academic. There is this campus experience as well, where you get to interact with students. Unfortunately, because of COVID, these days campuses are closed, but there's an entire experience that LUMS brings, not just the classroom, but out of class experiences.
Okay, perfect. So our next question is from Ali Hamza and Dr. Bhimani. We're getting a lot of questions on our social media, and we always do with regards to the scholarships, the financial assistance that is available to the people who are applying to SDSB programs. And today we're talking about these MSFM and accounting analytics programs. But again, इसके साथ-साथ आप बाकी programs का भी बता सके थोड़ा सा touch base. What are some of the major scholarships or financial assistance available to the applicants?
Thank you. Yes, I think that's a crucial question to ask. Just as a generic statement, I think it's probably fair to say that in terms of the added value that LUMS represents in relation to the costs, I think there are probably no other business schools on the planet that will leverage so much potential for a small base of tuition fees and so on. Truly none. SDSB is Pakistan's #1 school. There are actually very, very few business schools in Pakistan to begin with, but I think we're pretty much cutting edge in terms of global standards of educational excellence in business. So of course, I mean, I'm biased in that I would encourage individuals to look at SDSB if they want a proper, effective, excellent, outstanding business education. But of course, then you're going to ask yourself, well, I would love to come to LUMS, I would love to come to SDSB, but there are financial constraints. And I think the good news is that we are also the only and first business school on the planet to provide 50% scholarships to every single woman who gets into one of our graduate programs, so be it the MBA, the executive MBA, any of the MS programs, and of course we have a PhD program. But in effect, every single woman will get a 50% scholarship. In addition to that, we also have 75% scholarships. We have 3 of these in every one of our MS programs, and so you will be considered for that in any case when you apply. And then we have other loan schemes and so on. It needs to be said that LUMS is, as you know, private university, but it is not a profit-making endeavor. It is there to effectively serve society, to serve Pakistan. In fact, the mission of SDSB is to develop people and to develop ideas so that they can effect positive business and societal change. So as Dr. On mentioned, when you're looking at the application, think about, it's essentially what you can do for society through your education at LUMS if you end up coming here. And that is absolutely crucial. So just to repeat, in terms of financial assistance, it is all there. At LUMS, across the board, including undergraduates, 1 out of 3 students basically gets extensive financing. But what I would just add also is that there are many questions that relate to, what do you need to be admitted to SDSB, to one of our programs, how difficult is it, and so on. And often even in interviews for jobs, people get asked a question, so tell me about your strength, why should we hire you, and so on. And I think the reflex reaction is to think, well, why should SDSB take me? What I would emphasize is that every single individual has weaknesses and they have strengths. And those weaknesses is something we also take into account positively, in that when you end up with a class that is made up of very many different individuals, I think the strengths basically pass on, and you find that you end up with a whole mix that is far superior than what you started with at the individual level. So I would say, don't hesitate to apply if you think that an SDSB education or LUMS education is what you aspire to, in spite of what you may think about yourself. Just apply and find out how good you really are, and we would welcome you to LUMS, inshallah, in the fall.
Inshallah. Okay. And as we always say that if you're committed to applying to LUMS, if you're committed to what you want to do and how you want to get benefited from a degree at LUMS, finance is not a problem. Money is not a problem. As Dr. Bhimani has mentioned, I'm going to just summarize it as well. There are loans available. There are MS program specific scholarships available. There are scholarships available for women candidates to get accepted at our programs at SDSB. And ये सब कुछ हमारे पास available है, and सारी information जो है website पर भी available है इन loans के बारे में, scholarships के बारे में, and वहाँ से आप सब कुछ ये ले भी सकते हैं. Moving on, Dr. On, मैं आपके पास आता हूँ फिर से एक दफ़ा. हमारे पास एक question, and that is from Ali, and Ali asks can he do this program in a part-time manner? And I think he is basically trying to convey कि वो शायद job कर रहे हैं Ali. Would it be possible for him कि वो continue कर सकें job के साथ-साथ ये program financial management वाला?
देखिए, MS Financial Management is a program जिसमें classes are scheduled and on the weekdays. आमतौर पे if you're working in a organization जो 9 to 5 जहाँ पे job है, that wouldn't be possible. क्योंकि या आप जॉब कर सकेंगे या आप क्लासेस के लिए आ सकेंगे. So it is a full-time program in that sense, and all of the master's programs are demanding. So to manage a full-time program with some work commitments would be a challenge. Especially MS Financial Management के context में मैं ये कह रहा हूँ. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Umair, आपसे ये क्वेश्चन करता हूँ कि अगर तो ये सिचुएशन जो इस वक्त चल रही है हमारी with regards to COVID-19, अगर ये continued रहती है, तो accounting and analytics के प्रोग्राम को सिर्फ इसकी इस वक्त बात करें तो do you think it can effectively be taught online?
Of course, we've had experience from last spring and this fall. जब ये pandemic shuru hua and then we had to move online, there were several issues. There were problems that we did not anticipate. So over time, what we've done is we have adapted, and now we are much more flexible. So if you look at the last semester that has just finished, we have experimented and learned a lot during this process. So we've already, not only we've adapted to the new system, but we've also kind of exploited it in a way that we've come up with ideas and solutions that not only compensate for online, but also sometimes enhance learning of the students and participants. So accounting and analytics, agar to, it would be fantastic if it is a physical face-to-face classes, but even if it is not and it's an online, we are equipped and we are now experienced as well to face it and use whatever we have learned in the last few months to enhance learning of the students. So that should not be any issue. This being a weekend program also involves a lot of interaction online anyways between the instructor, among the participants. So that learning continues even if this is a weekend program. So I don't think it would matter much that if we are online or yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Umair. And this will probably be our last question, or maybe second last question. The question is from Sabah Yasin, and she says, I have done my BS chemistry and want to apply for MS program here. Please guide about the scholarship for this program. That is the main question. Dr. On, agar main aapse start karu iska answer.
Ji, thank you. So basically, anyone who's admitted to the MS programs at business school, during the admission process, we go through the prior academic background, and those applicants, those successful applicants, jinka background is non-business field, we ask them to do a foundation. We ask them to do foundation courses. Those foundation courses are usually run in a kind of a 0 semester, just before the start of the regular semester. And those will introduce you to the basic concepts in the area of business management. The reason is so that when the actual semester starts off, everyone is on a similar grounding. So अगर आपका background chemistry का है या physics का है या botany का है, so that doesn't put you at a disadvantage when the actual degree program starts off.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dr. On. Dr. On, मैं आपसे एक दोबारा एक clarification चाहता हूँ. हमसे आदिल जो हैं वो पूछ रहे हैं, how many years of work experience is required for the program? I know you have already clarified it for this particular program.
There is no requirement. There is no requirement. 16 years of education is the requirement. Work experience can add value to your application, मगर ये requirement नहीं है और उसकी basis पे we don't make a decision purely on work experience.
Okay, perfect. So program को end करने से पहले मैं एक दफा फिर बता दूं कि testing requirements जो हैं इस program के लिए वो GRE, GMAT या GAT आप दे सकते हैं और उसकी certain dates हैं वो हमारी website पे भी available हैं. आप वहाँ से भी सारा check कर सकते हैं. And that will be it. Dr. Zalnoor, Osama, Umair, On. Thank you so much for being with us today. It has been such a pleasure for me sharing this platform with you. And I am pretty certain that our audience and prospective applicants are much more aware with regards to the information they needed to apply for this program and how these programs can be basically effective for their growth and how to best approach the admissions applications. But before we sign off, I'd like to remind you once again, our audience, that the last date to take your GRE, GMAT or GAT exam, जो मर्जी आप exam select करते हैं देने के लिए as a testing requirement for this program, you must make sure कि 1st June तक आपने वो exam दे दिया है, and your application needs to be submitted latest by June 8, 2021. तो हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप अपने एप्लीकेशन जो हैं वो जल्द उन पे काम करना स्टार्ट कर देंगे. जैसे डॉक्टर्स अलनूर और उमैर और उसामा ने बताया कि वी नीड टू सी कि आप किस तरह से समझते हैं कि सोसाइटी को बेनिफिट दे सकते हैं, ये प्रोग्राम आपके लिए किस तरह से इफेक्टिव हो सकता है, और इंस्ट्रक्टर्स जो हैं हमारे, उनको ये आपकी मौजूदगी जो है उससे किस तरह से बेनिफिट हासिल हो सकता है. So, ये सब फैक्टर्स को प्लीज जरूर कंसिडर कीजिएगा अपनी एप्लीकेशन को फिल इन करते वक्त. And that is it. Make sure we're getting your application and supporting documents within the stipulated deadline. Thank you for being with us today, and we wish you all the best.